Welcome back to the workshop. My name's Jack, this is Everyman Builds, and this is an Ooznest Workbee Z1 Plus CNC router. In this episode we're going to be doing the Y-Gantry, which is these rails, putting on the X-Gantry and capping off the ends. The first part of this step is to get your end plates ready. You need two oriented one way and two oriented the other way. Doesn't matter which ones you use, they're all the same, you just have to flip two of them over. You will need 16 12mm M5 bolts and 16 T-nuts. I've got them all here ready, and what you need to do is just feed one bolt through and very loosely put a T-nut on each one. You use the bottom 4 holes in each of the plates, and these will slide onto the extrusion A that we fitted in the last episode. So I'm going to put these on very quickly, and it's the flat side of the T-nut that goes against the plate. As you assemble each one, what you can do is just slide them onto the ends of your base assembly, and that way they're in place, they're ready to go, you haven't got them floating around, and that's what I'm going to do. And now with the 4 corners secured with the end plates, what we're going to do is take these extrusions, the F extrusions, off of here, or just slide them along. We're then going to slide the X gantry over them before we fix them onto the plates that we just put on the ends. So now we can lift this into place, secure the Y end plates onto the end of the gantry, and then we can move on to the lead screws. So once you've got the X and Y gantries roughly in place, you need to use the 16mm button head bolts, 4 in each corner. It says to start at this corner, so I'm going to start at that corner. I don't think it makes an awful lot of difference, but we'll do what it says. So the next step is one that's going to be a bit difficult to film, I think, and that is we push the X gantry all the way to the back of the machine. We loosen the front bolts just a little bit. We pull the gantry to the front of the machine, and wherever the extrusions end up, that's where it should sit. We tighten these. We loosen the back ones. We push the gantry all the way to the back. That will then push or pull the extrusions to where they need to be there, and then we tighten those. That should make everything nice and square. So we'll do that. So that's nice and smooth, and on to the next step. And now we need to do similar to what we've done before with the other lead screw. We put one, we do one or two? One lead screw. We put the lead screw through here. We put a flanged radial bearing, rubber bushing, clamping collar. Then we go through the nut block. Once it gets to the other side, we do clamping collar, rubber bushing, flanged radial bearing, push it all the way to the end. We do that both sides, and at the back of the assembly we leave it protruding by about 14mm, and on there we're going to put the flexible coupler, so we can put a stepper motor. So similar to the other thrust bearings, we've got the nylon shoulder washer, followed by a thrust bearing housing washer, the caged roller, and then the shaft washer. On the two front lead screws, we will add a coupler or a clamping collar, and on the back ones we'll add the flexible coupler. So I'm going to start with the front right, move my way to front left, and then to the back. As before, just make sure that the thrust bearing spins independently of everything else before you tighten it down, otherwise you may have got it not inside the grooves of the housing and shaft washers. So now we're going to fit some more angled brackets to each of the corners, just going from the front or the front and back base assembly to the Y-Gantry. To do that, we're going to use an angle bracket. One part is going to have a standard T-nut and the other is going to have a drop-in T-nut. Standard T-nut goes into the top slot on here. It's going to be a bit awkward to do this. I'm going to do that now on the other three corners, and then we'll move on to the next step, which is I think the stepper motors. So let's do these on the other three corners and then we'll come back. So with the angle brackets on in all four of the corners, the last step of this is to attach the stepper motors and then the end plates on the extrusions. Stepper motors go on as before with the aluminium spacers at 40mm and with the 50mm cap head bolts. The wires are oriented downwards towards the table. So that's the end of this section. We've got the stepper motors at the back and the end caps at the end of the extrusions. In the next episode, should be a fairly quick one I think, we've got the router mount to go onto the Z-axis. Should be fairly quick. And that will then conclude the mechanical assembly portion of this build, which has taken some time, but it's looking good. So, onwards and upwards. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.